everyone, and welcome to another episode of RioProgress, the podcast. I'm your host, Maria Fernanda, and I am here with a very special guest today. He was our very first RioProgress student. Welcome, Aaron.
Hello, everybody. It's nice to see you. Nice to meet you. I'm super excited.
And usually we let our guests introduce themselves, so why don't you tell our audience a little bit about you, who you are, what you do?
My name is Aaron Molina. I'm a senior at Princeton University. I currently major in economics with minors in Latino and Latin American studies. A little bit about myself. I'm really interested in like games, so whether that be video games, board games. I have a really wide board game collection that my friends back at Princeton they know about. We play constantly, so yeah, that's a little bit about myself. Yeah.
I'm going to start with heavy hitters right off the bat. One of my favorite stories to tell people about you is that you convinced
Mm.
Princeton to pay for your Legos.
Yes. yeah, so so at Princeton, as you know, a very liberal arts college, a very wealthy institution, number one ranked U.S. News.
We're not
Uh,
mad about it.
but yeah, so Princeton has a lot of money essentially, right? And so one of the things that prides itself in is being able to make any club possible, if possible. And so one of my visions was to make a version of was to literally entice myself to have Princeton pay for my Legos essentially. So I made a Lego club. Um, it was successful. I created it with a couple of my friends. Then I kind of passed it on because too much leadership positions and got away with academics. But yeah, so I essentially had Princeton pay for my Legos, my Lego addiction.
And the reason I tell students is because they often think of schools giving them resources for college as like, oh, they're going to, give me a full ride. They're going to pay for my tuition. And they forget about all the resources that are on campus once they arrive. I'm not just telling people because I want them all to go spend different universities' monies on Legos, but because I think it showcases that there's a lot more resources on some of these campuses to do fun things too.
Yeah.
What first sparked your interest in your major?
Yeah, so I'm an economics major. I think beforehand did not know what economics was. I took it in high school. Like
Yeah. You didn't go into college as an econ major.
I did not know. I applied as a math major because I really loved math. I love the numbers. I love the problem solving. I love calculating things. And so when I went into college, I thought that's what math was. And lo and behold, took my first like real math class. Was very much wrong.
Mm.
Um, it was nothing like that. It was a lot more theory based, and I personally did not like theory. So I kind of had to start from scratch. And granted, this was freshman year, so I still had a lot of room to improve or to take more classes for my major. And so I thought to myself, what is something equivalent to like having problem solving, calculating numbers? And I landed on econ. And so that's what really took me there. And yeah, I think that's how I found my major essentially. Yeah.
So you say you thought about it. Did you just like sit at your computer Googling what majors involve these tasks, or who did you reach out to for help figuring this out?
Yeah, so for help, I reached out to my advisor. So the way that Princeton works, I don't know about other schools, but our first years we have advisors um, that really help us to choose classes that go towards our major to really figure out what we like, what we don't like. And so I initially was paired with actually a chemistry person, which had nothing to do with it, but they were really helpful in terms of understanding that I wanted to like broaden my horizon essentially. And when I
Mm-hmm.
didn't like math or mathematics and all the theory, they were like, oh, maybe try this as well. And so we fit that into my class schedule, and it just turned out that I really liked it. So yeah.
And I remember this is something that happens with all of our students. We've realized year one, y'all fall off the grid. We
Mm,
do not hear from you for a while. We do not know how you're doing. We assume that you're okay based on your Instagram posts every once in a while. Because it's so hard that first year.
mhm,
You're adjusting to a new space, you're adjusting to classes, figuring out your major. But I do remember we had a conversation, I think, over winter break, where you were explaining how hard math had been
mhm,
and figuring out other courses you liked. And you were really excited about a class where you were reading um, I think about different problems, maybe. I'm trying to remember it correctly, but it was a course where you got to explore kind of social issues. And I think that also aligns a little bit with what you're doing with economics because you're not just out here trying to be a Wall Street bro, although that might be where you end up. That's totally cool. But can you tell us a little bit more about what within economics
Mm.
is interesting to you?
Yeah, so like as you said, I feel like I'm not the traditional economics person. Like I don't ideally I don't want to go into investment banking, go to Wall Street type thing, but I think for me what I'm really interested in is like what you said, the social problems, analyzing that. And I think I really realized that I think more so I don't think it was my first year. I think it was my second year.
Okay.
I took a public policy class and we analyzed a lot of different issues week to week. And I think that's where it really sparked my interest of like, can I integrate economics to solve like these public policy challenges, right?
Mm-hmm.
And at first, I didn't really know how to do that. It wasn't really until my third year, my junior year, where we got into more research based. And at Princeton, we have this thing called the junior paper, and for senior year we have the senior thesis. So for the junior paper, I really wanted to write about it like a social issue, and I was thinking, what can I do? What is something like non-traditional you wouldn't think is econ based? And what it came out to be was I researched how arrest rates in Texas after the passage of an immigration bill affected arrest rates, right?
Mm-hmm.
And to me, I didn't know that was economics, right? I did not know I can analyze like crime or health or stuff like that, and that would be economics.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't until my advisor for the junior paper told me, yeah, you can totally do that, that I was like very much shocked, right? I was like, whoa. It opened up a whole new lot of opportunities in which that I could use economics for. I think that really transpired into what my senior thesis is now and what I hope for it to be. So yeah, I'm really excited.
So you've been working on your senior thesis actually over this break. You've been
Yes.
here in our office also grinding along with our students. Um, can you tell us a little bit about what your question is for that? I know you don't have results fully yet.
Yes. Yeah, so as of now, as of recording this, because it might change later on, but right now, I'm analyzing the effects of the No Child Left Behind Act, the 2002 Education Act, on Hispanic military enlistment rates. I'm looking at 1997 to 2009. So that's the time period I'm looking at. And for now, the results, I still have to prove it with my advisor, see if things check out, if all the economics check out. But to my surprise, there doesn't seem to be a significant impact on military enlistment rates. So, yeah, I just have to, I guess, formally write it up, meet with my advisor, see if they think everything works out, checks out. And so, yeah, so that's what it is.
Okay. It's so fun to hear you talk about your senior thesis and your junior paper because it has been a long 4 years
Yes.
of going through this process. And I want the audience to know that despite how smart and cool and collected you appear before us today, there was a moment when you were also a panicked senior,
Mm,
a little bit.
yes.
And bring them back to what your college application process was like.
Yeah.
So, how did we even get to the point where you get to study econ and learn about these amazing issues and produce a senior thesis? What was the start of this?
Yeah, so the start of it was, as you said, senior year of high school, very much going through the midst of the college process. And I think at that point, that's what I was stressing out the most, like going to college. And I knew that I, what I had worked for those 4 years, I really wanted to go to an Ivy League institution or a top 20 school. And so that was my goal, if I'm being honest. So I knew I had a lot of work ahead of me, and I knew that it was going to be a long, tiring process of writing essays, of filling out information on the
Mm-hmm.
Common App, and so at that moment, I knew that was going to be so tiring, so scary for me, and I think my journey with the college application process happened, I think, more so in the summer because there was this program called QuestBridge that I wanted to apply to, and I had written a couple of essays for I didn't really know how it worked per se because I I knew about the college application process, didn't really know how it worked per se.
Mm-hmm.
So I was kind of guided on my own. I had the college office at my high school. They kind of helped me a little bit in navigating it. But it was ultimately you that really helped me through the college application process, right? I remember, I think it was like 2 weeks before the deadline for Questbridge, I had reached out being like, "Can you help me?" And I think if I remember correctly, at that point I had like I wanted to rank all the schools essentially, but I knew realistically, I think the week before I was like, maybe that's not a smart idea. Let me do 3 schools. And so I did that, asked you for help, and we let that be, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I was kind of hoping for the 3 schools that I ranked to see if I would get in. So I didn't say, I would say, for lack of better words, I didn't really work on anything else
Mm-mm.
for the remainder like 2 months because Questbridge was due in September. So I was like really banking on that, right? So when it came for decision day, or when it became for finalists, I got it. I became a finalist. I was like, oh, okay. So we had to do all the supplemental essays, everything else. And I was like, okay, I have a good shot. If they want me as a finalist, then I have a good shot to going to college. So I was like, okay. And I pushed things off even further. And in December, early December, I got news. I remember where I was during that. I was in my fourth period class. It was like a computer class, computer business class, and I had opened it. A lot of my friends were there, and we opened it, and I didn't get in. I didn't get into any of the colleges. And I was devastated. I'm not gonna lie, I was devastated.
Rejection's hard.
Yeah, rejection is hard, especially since you think that you think
I
that you're
don't
gonna
think
get in.
most people go in thinking they're gonna get it, but yeah, if that's your expectation, it's hard to have that, like, going from, oh, I have a good chance, I feel good about
Yes.
this, to it's a no.
Yeah, which is very true. Like I think a lot of times it like I did have that mindset in terms of like I think I'm gonna get it. Like everything else was aligning, and so
Mm-hmm.
when I didn't get it, it was really devastating. It really crushed me. And I remember that day; it was a very somber day. I just did not want to talk to anybody.
Yeah.
And other people in my school did get it, and I was happy for them. But inside, I was like, "Damn, I did not get it."
So let me give some context for what Questbridge is and what you didn't get, because I think
Yes.
that's important to understand why you were so upset. So you were working over the summer on this because Questbridge has a deadline of September 15th. It's
Yeah.
super early, and maybe it's September 30th actually, but very early in the school year. And you work and you write all these essays and you put in all this effort because it is a full ride scholarship, which means
Hmm.
if you get it and you get in through Questbridge, you don't have to pay for anything for all 4 years of college.
Exactly.
And you get to be done by December with your process because you're in early and it's exciting and it's a good time. So early December, you hear back that it's a no,
Yes.
and you're understandably upset because it feels, I think, and we've had students go through it every year since, but it feels like, well, if they don't want me, then what's the point of continuing to even apply to these types of schools?
Exactly. Exactly.
So, how do you get out of that?
Yeah. So I think it took me about like a week to like really get out of my funk. Like I remember seeing all these TikTok videos and of people getting into Questbridge, and that really further devastated, made me really upset. And so it really took me a week of like, okay, you know what? This phrase of like rejection gives
It's
you is
redirection.
redirection exactly. I don't know. I think that really like really cemented in my head, and I was seeing a lot of TikTok videos about that as well, and I was like, okay, maybe that is true.
It's truly the double-edged sword here of, I tell students to stay off social media during this period
Mm,
because it's so hard to see people happy when you're
yes.
not. Like it just is. I think it's a human thing. With your friends, it's different.
Yeah.
You know them, you're happy for them. But with
Exactly.
strangers on the internet, you're
It's
just like,
like
how dare you? But it does also then, shift your thinking back into a positive space. With like what, like 3 weeks before your next set of deadlines?
Yes. 3 weeks before my set of deadlines. And so, yeah, exactly. So, I don't know. I think seeing a couple of videos of like that, of people not getting QuestBridge or people not getting an early decision, I think really helped me with that process of being like, okay,
You're
let's,
not alone.
yeah, I'm not alone. Let's get it together. We have another shot, you know? And so I think 3 weeks before the deadline, I think at that point I really came to you and be like, okay, I really need help. I really want to go to one of these Ivy League's top 20 institutions. What can we do, right? And so at that point, that was like it was it was very tiresome, very tedious. A lot of a lot
Late
of
nights, lots
late
of coffee.
exactly. And so it was also very stressful in terms of like I'm like, "Whoa, it was so much writing." And for context, I'm not really a writer. At least back then I wasn't really much a writer. Like I was very much more science, math, more STEM, and so writing was very difficult for me.
Hmm.
And so I was like, I don't know what to write about. Like how do I write essentially, right?
Hmm.
I remember asking you about all these tips and advice, and it really helped me with the writing process. Really helped me with like, oh, these are some ideas, like brainstorming. And so I think going to you really helped me. And I remember it was like December, and for context, like most of these top 20 Ivy League institutions,
Are
their
due
deadlines
January 1st, just to be
January.
mean.
Yeah, to be mean, I don't know why they don't want us to enjoy the new year or anything of that sort. So I remember, I think it was like December 30th. I wanted to apply to like two more schools, and they had like new original like supplementals and stuff, and so I we just grinded them out, and so I'm very thankful to have you throughout the process. But yeah.
So, and just so the audience knows, RP didn't exist yet. Real
Mhm.
Progress didn't exist yet as an organization. Aaron is my cousin who's not a cousin, the
Yeah.
way Mexicans have cousins like this. Our families have known each other since he was in a stroller. And
Yeah.
so we grew up together. And I think that's why you came to me. And I was like, yeah, sure. Well, of course we'll help. But I do remember those late. And what I remember most is thinking, why didn't he start sooner? I didn't have this context that you were very confident about Questbridge, or I
Yeah.
would have told you, hey, maybe let's not.
Yeah.
Not that you can't manifest and, good vibes and all that, but really, we should never stop working throughout
Mhm.
this process because none of these options are guaranteed. And I
Yeah.
think you know that now. But at
Yeah.
the time, it did feel very like 3 weeks of intense work
Yeah.
because you're right. These schools each ask for like 4 to 5 essays each.
Mhm.
For those students who don't already love writing, that's not
Yeah.
the easiest task. And then I think we got a notice, though, a letter
Yes.
that kind of boosted your confidence a little bit up too. I don't know if you remember this, but
Yeah.
the Cornell letter.
Yes.
So another Ivy League school was like, "Hey, we didn't accept you through QuestBridge, but we still really like you. Make sure you apply." And I think that gave you a little bit of that boost too of being like, "Okay, not all hope is lost."
Yeah. Yeah.
It might just be that I didn't get in through this one avenue, but there's still other doors open.
Exactly.
So you finish your applications, and then this might not be what you answer to this question, but I think the hardest part was the financial aid.
Mm.
Do you feel like that's true, or do you feel like no, the writing was unmatched?
Wait, what do you mean by that?
So, what was the most confusing or overwhelming part of the application
I see.
process for
I see.
you?
Yeah, I think I would say it would be the financial aid section because I also vividly remember that being very confusing, very tedious. Like, first of all, doing FAFSA, that was I didn't know what that was. I still don't know what it is. I don't know if I still need to apply for it, even though I'm a senior. Do
No,
I?
you're fine.
Okay, perfect. Um, so that was also confusing, but I think in particular the confusing part, especially if you're going out of state, would be the CSS profile.
Mm-hmm.
I I still don't know what that is. I don't even know what it stands for. And that was the most tedious, most confusing thing in the entire world. And I I didn't even know what the questions asked for, right? And so even though the college application, I wouldn't say the college application process is confusing more than challenging and difficult in itself in terms of like I think you have to put in the effort to do it,
Mm-hmm.
right? I think the financial aid process to the college application is confusing of in itself and difficult and challenging altogether, bunched into one. And I think we talk about this or we joke about it all the time in terms of like one of the questions is asking us about like how much a cow is worth, right? And I don't know why. Well, I do you know why they asked that?
Yeah, actually. So again, some backstory here. The FAFSA is the Federal Application for Student Financial Aid, and that one everyone does, regardless of whether you're staying in state or out of state, because schools use that to determine how much money they give you. Great, we love it. And actually, since you applied, it's gotten easier. You know, things always get easier for the next group. And so now students can get it done in like 20 minutes. It's super fast. It's very, very efficient. It's great. The CSS profile is specifically for private schools. So it's not for all out-of-state schools, but it's for private schools. And it's much more in-depth because what these schools realize is sometimes your family might have assets that you can use to pay for college that are not visible in the FAFSA. So the FAFSA is very general. What's your income? How many people in your family? Very basic. The CSS profile is like, hey, could you sell one of your cows to pay for college? Because if you can, then we'd rather you do that than give you money. It might be, you know, if you have 2 houses, what's the value of the second one? Could that be sold for money? Right? And so that's why they go so in depth, because they really want to know, how can this student pay for college? Can this student go through other avenues that are not institutional aid for it? So it does ask, like, how many cows do you have? What is the value of each? What are the value of your cars, of your home? And then it gets even more fun if your parents own a business, then it also goes into that. So I know we spent some hours filling that one out, because if there's anything that is outside of the norm, anything that deviates slightly, it makes things a little bit more confusing. So I know we were talking about, you know, your parents have a special living situation, and so how do we even explain that in this document? And so it does take some, like, let's just sit and think about this for a second. Let's Google, let's Reddit, let's see what other people have done in your situation. But then it pays off, right? You get quite a few acceptances.
Yes.
And then you have decisions to make. You get to go on college visits.
Yes.
Tell us about what it's like to go to college visits that are paid for, and you're just there to be like, okay, convince me to come here now.
Yeah, so there were 3 that I remember. There was UT Austin that I went to with you, actually. There was Duke, and then there was Princeton. Those are 3 that I went to. And I think they try to entice you by like showing you everything all at once, all the amazing things, walking you through the beautiful parts of campus. I think we also joke about them turning on the weather machine. but for context, Princeton did not have that weather machine that day.
Nope.
It was very cold. It was raining as well. Not fun.
And if you can like a university when they haven't turned their weather machine on, I think you can like it at any point.
Exactly. I think with the UT Austin visit, I don't remember much about it, but it was, I think we went to a volleyball game as well. Yeah, we did. We did go to a volleyball game.
Yeah, they give you tickets for everything.
Exactly.
We got to eat dinner at the top of the tower.
Yes, with like the president. I remember now.
So these college visits, the goal is to convince you to go there.
Exactly.
And it's very different than any visits you do before your senior year, before you apply, when you are trying to look good and you're trying to get information, because now you're in and now you get to choose. Do you feel like there were specific things that you were looking for that helped you make those decisions?
Yeah, I think one was definitely the community and environment. Like, what I mean by that is particularly more like cultural groups, places where I think I would fit in, especially with my different identity. So I think that was definitely one thing I was really considering. And I think second was obviously like the financial aid, but I think also with that, the resources. I think those 3 were definitely my top 3 criteria for choosing these schools, right? And I think each one of them filled in different buckets or different amounts. But I ultimately decided on Princeton. Um, yeah, because I think that they filled out everything that I wanted it to be and what I wanted in a college specifically. So yeah, I think yeah.
We often tell students, because I think during the first half of the process, you're so focused on will they take me,
Hmm.
that you forget to think about, well, do I want to go there? Like,
Yeah.
do I like them?
Hmm.
And really, if you leave that part of the thought process for the end, the decision also becomes really stressful.
Yeah.
So I'm glad you had some criteria in mind as you were going through that, because I think that is also an important part of it. What do I care about? What do I want
Yes.
in a school? Am I going to be happy there? Because we don't just care that you get in, we care that you graduate, right? And
Exactly.
that's how this is determined. So, kind of to that point, I want to talk about your experience overall. How did your high school prepare you for college, both academically and personally?
Hmm. I think in terms of academics, I think what really helped me from high school was definitely like the worth ethic. I mean, I still bring that to college. I definitely have modified it quite a bit, but I think that same worth ethic has transpired into my college experience, and it has really motivated me to do well in my classes. Like, but as you said, like I feel like that first year, especially freshman year, you're still learning. Like, the same study habits do not work as well, or does not translate from
Or no study habits sometimes?
exactly does not translate from high school to college, and so it's a lot of learning, but I think that same worth ethic really brought me through the end, and then I still use that today. In terms of personal, like anything personal, I think one thing one thing that I didn't realize back then, but I think has transpired, is how to talk and communicate, especially with peers and or with teachers, right?
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to university, I think professors are definitely a valuable resource they can always go to, and making those connections with those
Mm-hmm.
resources is very valuable. And I think that is, I use kind of those same talking skills, communication skills, that I used back in high school with my teachers to write those letters of recommendation, to do all those things, and I've translated them once again to college, and like really getting to know the professor. Um, Once again, in hopes of them writing me a recommendation letter, or for them to recommend me a job, or to help me find internships, or for even to apply to their research, right? So I think those same communication skills has really helped me along as well.
So, is there anything that you would ask your high school to change
Mm.
or improve that would have helped you better prepare for college?
Ooh, I think I wished I wish I knew about some of these programs and or these resources earlier on.
Like
Cuz
which ones?
like I think in particular like Questbridge, like
Mm.
I didn't really know about it. I saw it on TikTok and I was like, once again, let me do it as well. I also didn't really know uh about like the Coolidge scholarship, all these like, I don't want to say niche, but more so like these national scholarships. I didn't know about them. Unfortunately, I didn't apply to them because I didn't know about them. So I wish I knew about some of those resources, those scholarships earlier on, so that I
Mm-hmm.
knew about them and I could be better prepared for. I think now they they are better at doing that. Um, so yeah, I think
They've
that
learned how to use Instagram from what I can see. They now like post scholarship alert and things like that. But
exactly.
yeah, definitely earlier might have also prevented some of that
Yeah.
last minute rush to write things.
Yeah, and I think also with that, I wish I would have known about this like going back to the earlier, I wish I would have known about it maybe like junior year, so I could better prepare myself, being like what is the timeline, right? When am I supposed to take the SATs, ACTs, stuff like that? When should I prep for them, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Cuz I didn't really know about them. I knew, like, once again, I knew I wanted to go to like an institution, so I knew I had to take them, and I was seeing on social media online when best to take them, and it was junior year, right? And so I was like, okay, let me do it then and stuff like that. So I knew about it, but I wish my school would better explain that process a little bit more. So yeah.
Okay. Uh, what about for the college overall? So that's for the college application process.
Mm.
But what do you think would have better prepared you for that rough transition that we had?
I I I kind of have, oh, I don't know. I don't know what to say to that, just because I feel like all the struggles I had my first year, like as we mentioned, like maybe like the study habits and stuff like that, but I think that was just like personal growth, right?
Like, that's just my fault.
No, yeah, because I think also with that,
Yeah.
because I'm also, for context, a residential college advisor or an RA in a lot of different schools. So I've, first of all, I've been through the process of being a first year, and I've helped mentor for two
Many
years.
first
Yeah,
years.
many first years, and I think a lot of the times it's just like that's your first time living alone,
Mm-hmm.
and so you're navigating everything by yourself, and I wouldn't attribute that to high school per se,
Got it.
but more so to like, oh, I have to do it to myself. Like how, like
I
first
have
of,
to be disciplined.
yeah, exactly. Like I can't stay up all late, like do stuff like that. But also like I think one thing in particular, and it's still like it's still trying to process in my brain, is like making friends, right? Because in high school, like you know these friends from like middle school, elementary school, and stuff like that. You knew these people, but you're going into a new environment, right? And so making friends was very difficult. I was fortunate enough that I was able to go do a summer program at Princeton and really connect with communities
Mm-hmm.
beforehand, and so that transition to making friends was a lot easier. But I know the number one concern, especially amongst first years, is how do I make friends? Like I don't think I have an established friend group, stuff like that, and so I think that was definitely.
And it's hard because one of the things that we know helps students stay enrolled in college and graduate is that support, that social
Mm,
support. We have lots of research that explains this. And it's actually why some organizations like Posse, which we're huge fans of, we modeled a lot of our work around what they
mm,
do, will actually send groups of students together to different institutions
mm,
from their high schools, all the way to another place, because we understand that, especially for groups that come from really family oriented spaces,
mm.
really social spaces, which the Latinx community definitely is, when you go somewhere new and you're just plopped there by yourself, it feels really isolating and
It
it's really
does.
hard. And what we recommend to our students is as soon as you get on campus, join a club. I don't care
Mm,
what it is. I don't care if it's a cultural club, if it's a sport, if it's Legos, if it's dance, if it's like anything. And even if you don't stick it out, it will at least help you meet people
mm.
and break that ice of how do I go up to strangers? How do I introduce myself? What if they don't like me? All these things that we often tell ourselves. Um, that can really help with it. So that's our recommendation now. I'm sorry we didn't know better when you were a freshman, but we've learned since. But I think you still found ways to really get yourself in the community. And I know you've mentioned you're a leader for several organizations.
Yes, yes,
Um, Tell us about being an RA. So, a residential advisor.
yes.
You are in charge of a floor.
Yeah, essentially. So yeah, basically a floor. Yeah, basically a floor. So I'm in charge for 18 first year students. Um so I try to, so I guess my job and my role with that is essentially creating community, right? Community building, making sure that they know the resources out there at Princeton, but also making sure that they feel connected and or have like a safe space, right? Um, I think it is very challenging in some cases. I think one of the unique things that we have are on call shifts. So we have to go walk around, especially at night, to make sure there's no emergencies and stuff like that. We have a set amount that we have to do. So that particularly is sometimes very challenging, depending on whether or not you get a call, right? But I think overall, in general, with the RE leadership, I it feels very fulfilling to me, especially since my first year, like I mentioned, was very difficult, especially like socially and academically. Like I definitely struggled, and so I think providing my wisdom to these first
Your
year students,
hard earned wisdom.
yes, my hard earned wisdom was definitely like very fulfilling, because I'm
Hmm.
like I can share with you all the tips, everything that I've learned, um, everything whatsoever, like what classes not to take or what classes to take, or like what groups you want to join. And I think especially what is rewarding, especially since I have been a leader in various clubs, especially connecting them with different people,
Mm-hmm.
especially if they feel like homesick or like isolated, or like they don't have like an established friend group, like always connecting them to somebody that I know is also very fulfilling, because I think, oh, I've done my job to help sustain my legacy, but also to help others essentially. So yeah.
Oh, that's so pretty. That's so beautiful. I thought you were going to talk more about, how this has given you free room and board, but
Oh.
no, I'm kidding. I do really like hearing the piece of, I think a lot of our students share this in common of wanting to give back
Hmm.
and wanting to make sure that others feel supported in ways that maybe there's not that jealousy, at least I haven't seen it yet, of it's not fair that I had to work really hard and figure it out, and so you got to work
Mm,
hard and figure it out too. It's more like, no, no, like, let's make it easier for you, right?
yeah.
Like, you don't have to struggle as hard. And I think that's honestly, it's pretty unique to our
Mm,
little area here. Um, and I'm glad that you found an avenue to kind of already start that process of
yeah.
giving back. But I do also want to know, because I often tell this to students who maybe have a small gap in their
Hmm.
financial aid, that this is a strategy they can use. What is the advantage of being a residential advisor?
Yeah, like as you said, I think Princeton does it a little differently, but essentially we do get free room and board. And for us, we do get like a meal stipend. So we do get like a certain amount of meal swipes fully covered by the university. The purpose of them is to have like meals with our residents and stuff like that, but sometimes that doesn't happen. We just eat the food that we want. But I think in particular is definitely the living cost as well, like you said, free room and board, so I don't have to pay for room and board. And I luckily, depending on which residential college you live in, but mine, I have like my own private bathroom, my own living space, so it's really nice. So it just feels really comfortable, and not worrying about that expense has really like helped me, or like calm me down,
Mm-hmm.
in the sense of like, oh, okay, that's something I don't have to worry about. I'm fine. So yeah, and I think also, I don't think this is at every university, but Princeton, we do get paychecks, so it is a paid job. So I do get biweekly paychecks from it, even during breaks. So right now I am getting paid.
Nice.
So yeah, that's a really good benefit.
Yeah, it's not exactly the same everywhere, but what
Yeah.
happens is if you have a full tuition scholarship or a
Mhm.
full ride scholarship and you get room and board paid for, sometimes students still receive that as like a refund. And so
Yeah.
they get some money back, which is also really helpful. So that's why we recommend it to students that have a little bit of a gap, because it's also a way to take that stress off. I don't know that any others have taken us up on it. I think it does take a lot of effort, and it takes a very specific personality to be willing to deal with first years for,
Yeah.
all the way through being a senior. But if you are interested in that, I think it's an awesome option.
Yeah.
So you were Real Progress's very first student. I call you our beta tester because we didn't know what we were doing in terms of how to keep students accountable and making sure that we were also hitting all those
Yeah.
deadlines. But you're now serving as board secretary.
Mhm.
Very important position, very high responsibility.
Yeah.
How has your understanding of leadership changed over time?
Oh, that's a good question. Oof. That's a good question, because I think throughout my time, leadership has definitely changed. Like, I think in high school, in terms of leadership, you think, okay, I'm like club president, and I have to like, it's basically like a fake title essentially, right? Like, oh, you just run like a group of 10 students, like you have help with an advisor, like, or a teacher. So it's like really like a fake job, it's like for a title purpose, right? Um, but I think with that, I think I vividly remember my idea of leadership kind of changed senior year of high school a little bit. Like that was my first transition into like what leadership actually was. I think in particular because I was NHS president, and at my school at that time in particular, we didn't have an advisor, we didn't have like a teacher to help support us, and so it was like kind of my responsibility to find that person. Um, And so I was like asking everybody, and I was like, oh my God, when am I going to find one? Luckily, one of my favorite teachers ever in the entire world stepped up and helped me. And so we were navigating for the first time. And so I think that was my first transition of like what leadership meant in terms of like, oh, okay, this is what being president actually means, like helping start from scratch and doing it all over.
Mm-hmm.
Um, really helping members, really like dealing with, I don't want to say crises, but like,
Mini fires.
yes, mini fires essentially, and how to deal with them. And so that was my first transition into what leadership actually meant, right? And I think it kind of also changed when I was in college, right? As I mentioned before, I was president of the Culture Affinity Group, BLASA, which stands for the Princeton Latin American Student Association. And I started out as just a member my first year, like you said, just getting acquainted, really wanting to meet people of my same ethnicity, of my same culture, stuff like that. And so I was like, okay, let me do a little bit more responsibility. So I became co-chair of the Latina Identities committee, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that was very fulfilling. And I think one of the most challenging aspects of it was our final event, which I'm still very proud of to today because it has brought one of my favorite people to campus. And so I think that was a different type of leadership in the sense of like, okay, now we have logistics to help find another person, do another thing, another project. And I think at that sense, leadership was very much more, okay, I'm in charge of these people. I have to make sure they actually do their jobs. Or if not, then things will not go well, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if they don't step up to the plate, then I have to do a little bit more work, stuff like that, right? And I think that really manifested itself in this last event where we were able to bring Dolores Huerta, the civil rights activist, labor activist, very iconic. I love her. I have a signed poster of her signature with my name on it. One of my most prized possessions ever. And then I think also as well, with that transition came my last form of leadership, which I think I still continue to hold today, which is especially being transitioned into co-president of the Cultural Affinity Group, right? I think in that sense, it was much more of like, okay, wow, I'm in charge of like everybody. I'm in charge of like 8 different committees, in charge of like 40 different people. We have to all work together in one single group. And so I think that really changed my form of leadership as well. And I think that's still the form of leadership I continue today, especially with my other job and my other opportunities and being mentor and being like, as you said,
Mm-hmm.
like an RCA or RA with my first year students. So yeah.
What skills or mindsets have mattered most to your growth in college?
Oh, what do you mean by skills? Like, what are examples of some skills? Because I think I'm like kind of struggling.
So it could be, obviously you said study skills were not it. But I mean, I can give you an example of what I think was a great skill you had that helped you.
Okay.
Your ability to coupon.
Oh, yes. Oh my God, yes,
Yeah.
yes. So for context, I'm obsessed with couponing. I don't know. I think it is very valuable, a very valuable underutilized skill
Mm-hmm.
because it saves you a lot of money. And especially when you go into college and you don't have a lot of money or don't have a job, it is life-changing, life-saving. I can tell you that, right? And wow, now that you mention it, I'm like, whoa. Well, I say that because like especially being low income first generation, like I said, we don't really have a lot of money, and so especially transitioning into college, I was like, okay, how am I gonna get like groceries or basic like hygiene products and stuff like that? And so couponing was the avenue in which I was able to do it, right? And I didn't want to keep that to myself, right? And so I was able to share those skills with my friends, but I think most importantly with the same community as me, especially FLI students, FGLI students, so first gen and low income students. So also for context, I'm part of the Emma Bloomberg Center. I work for them, which helps first gen and low income students as well. And so I was able to showcase those skills and help teach those skills to other students as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that was also very valuable to them. And I know other students also use that. So wow, now that you mentioned that, I'm like, whoa.
Well, because there's so many. So, okay, college is expensive
Yes.
in some cases. We're trying to break the myth that it's expensive all the
Yes.
time. But specifically at an institution at the level you went to like the total cost of attendance per year is something like $75,000 a year minimum. And you had several scholarships. You're a Gates Scholar as well.
Yes.
And so you have that to help you. But that will cover tuition, room and board, maybe books, maybe flights.
Yeah.
But you're right, it's not going to cover your shampoo and your toothpaste and your, whatever
Yeah.
else you might need or even want, like snacks and stuff like that. And so I know that for a lot of first gen low income students, that is one of the pieces that feels the hardest of like, I can't just go to the store and get the things as soon as I show up on campus and be good. And maybe you brought some stuff with you, but you also are limited in packing because
Exactly.
you can't bring all your liquids and all your things and not expect it to be over 50 pounds. Um, so the first month back on campus, I think, had always been the hardest for me, at least. And I remember I tell students that my strategy was annoying the financial aid office so that I would be at the top of the refund list because I would get a refund, but it would come like after 2-3 weeks of being on campus.
Okay.
And so I was like, I need to be the first one to get it because I need to go buy my books, but I also need to go buy all my toiletries, all the things I need because I came with my little travel set, right? Or whatever small versions. And I remember you telling me, oh, I have my stash under the bed.
Yes.
And I just thought that was so not just clever for you to do, but also helpful to help others.
Yes.
Because that is one of those pieces that makes you feel different from like 70% of campus, which aren't on financial aid and, just show up with all their fancy like Olaplex products and whatever. That feeling of struggle, right? And so I'm happy to both remind you that you have this skill, but also recognize the work you did to help share it with others because that I think is also important.
Yeah.
Were there any mindsets that you feel like were really important? Did you have a mantra that got you through?
Yeah, I think, yes. I think once again, going back to the college application process, I think rejection leads to redirection. I think that mantra I still use today and it really helped me, especially when applying to like internships or scholarships within college. Once again, getting those rejection letters or getting those no's really demoralized me. But I thought again, okay, rejection is redirection. It was not meant for me, but you know what? Let's try something else. And it will eventually work out. Like, I think that mantra really has helped me through a lot of things and has really like solidified my understanding of like how I should live my life essentially, right? Like, for example, I think the most recent example is definitely my grad school application, especially my CINC, which I forgot what it means.
It's
scholars.
okay.
Something has to do with like public service, right? And so when I didn't get it, I didn't really feel hurt about it, which is very surprising because I feel like I usually get hurt.
Growth.
Yes, yeah. Like, it didn't really hurt because I'm like, okay, you know what? It wasn't meant to be. And I think at that point, I also had some other realizations of what I wanted to do career-wise or post-grad-wise. That I was like, okay, you know what? Let's move forward and let's do something else. So, yeah, I think that mantra really helped me throughout college. So,
Yeah, I think not getting stuck in no
Yes.
is so hard, but very helpful if you can do it, right?
Yes.
Just rolling with the punches, saying, okay, what's next? And moving on.
Exactly.
Speaking of graduation, you're graduating this spring.
Yes.
I am so excited. You have no idea. I am so ready. I'm going to bring matracas. I'm going to bring all of the fanfare. But before, we get that, I know you're figuring out what's next. So what are you most excited about?
Oh, I think I'm most excited not to be in Princeton. I think I'm tired of it. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of not living by myself. I'm tired of all the free food, everything. I'm just kidding. I think I'm most excited to kind of be done with education, right? For context, I think originally I wanted to go straight into grad school.
So as you get ready to graduate this spring, what are you most excited about?
Yeah, I think I'm most excited not to be at Princeton anymore. Like not the free food, all the free club activities, free living, stuff like that. I'm excited not to do that anymore. JK. I think for me, I'm most excited about finding a new job, right? Even though like that's a whole new avenue I have to navigate. I'm most excited for that, like I want something new. Like I'm kind of done with education, at least for now, because I've been how many years is this? 16 years, right? K through 12.
At least, yeah.
now 4 more 16 more years, and I think I think at this point I was kind of like burnt out, right? Especially with the junior paper, senior thesis. I was very burnt out. I was like, I don't think I want to do education, at least right now, right? I think in
Mhm.
the future, hopefully I go back to grad school, get my master's, get my
Oh,
PhD.
you're going back for your master's at least. Yes.
Yes, and so I think right now I'm most excited is to get a new job, like start fresh, because I think although at Princeton I started fresh there, like especially with the social scene, being by myself, and that was kind of like scary, at least for that first year.
Mm-hmm.
I think I really was able to grow, and I think those rest of the 3 years, I think really helped me and was like really exciting, right? And so I hope to kind of like replicate that feeling with finding a new job, going to a new city, and stuff like that. So yeah.
Okay. What gives you hope right now?
Oof. What gives me hope? In terms of what? In terms of oh.
You could think about it if you want a more narrow scope. It could be about um, yourself, or it could be about the future of students.
Mm. Oof, okay. Wait, sorry, what was the first one?
So it could be about your future or about students coming after you.
Hmm. I think what gives me hope, and I think I'm gonna answer it in like both in terms of myself, but also
Mm-hmm.
in terms of other people or other students. I think what brings me hope, at least for me, for myself, is that I'm not alone essentially, right? I think like all my friends are navigating through the same ventures. We like here at Brownsville, but also at college, we're all navigating the same ventures, especially when graduating college. So I know I'm not alone with that. Um, Also, what brings me hope for myself is also like, okay, I guess for other students, what brings me hope is that there's an upcoming new generation of new thinkers, new learners, new innovators, right? And I say that because especially here, especially with the work that RP has done, but also with at Princeton, I can see the future leaders, future policymakers happen. Oh, okay, yeah, I could see the future of like lawmakers, policymakers, of innovators really at the forehand, right? And we're like shaping the minds of them, and I know that change will come essentially, right? Because of that. So I think that what
Mm.
brings me hope is this new generation.
I think change will come is the most accurate phrase ever, right? Because change is the
Yeah.
one thing that we can for sure count on.
Yeah.
But I like that you're seeing it from a positive lens
Mhm.
of the change is going to be good
Yeah.
because we're preparing people in ways that are good and helpful and
Yeah.
hopeful. You didn't get to answer this question when you first worked with us because, as previously stated, it was kind of spontaneous
Mm.
and accelerated. But ever since we've asked students this before they start working with us, and I
Mhm.
like to ask our guests as well, and it's what does progress mean to you?
Oh, what does progress mean to me? I think progress. I think progress is just seeing. Oh, that is a good question. What does progress
I
mean?
didn't realize these would be such heavy hitters.
No, it is. It is. It's just these one word things, these one word sentences that, well, I think those were all, that's what
Mm-hmm.
questions are.
Mm-hmm.
I think for progress, what progress means to me is essentially, and I think this goes back to what I said previously, I think progress is change, right? Progress is future change that we will see, and it is change that will help people in the future, right? It will better our society. It will help make things easier, help promote access. I think that's what progress is. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. We are so happy to have you. I always look forward to you coming home for the holidays. And that'll be our episode for today. We usually like to leave our audience with a practical thing to do. So I think, in light of some of the things you shared, my practical thing is going to be to go learn about where you can coupon
Mm,
and how you can be creative in your funding.
mm,
And I think I'm excited to see where you go. I'm ready for your graduation. We will definitely be sharing it on our socials. And we also look forward to seeing where you end up and what your next thing is. So thank you all so much for joining us, and we'll see you on the next time. Thank you all so much for watching this podcast and following along with us. If you really liked it, please feel free to subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, anywhere that you might be listening to this. And if you want more information about the work that we do, you can go to realprogress.org, or you can follow us on socials at RioProgress.